In the last video, we had seen 5 good and 5 bad elements of Dato Sri Najib Razak and the National Coalition Party. Well, this time we are going to see 5 good and 5 bad elements of the leader of Pakatan Harapan, Tun Mahathir. Let's start with the good elements, shall we? Number 1. Tun Mahathir was a true visionary. When he took office, his main aim was to ensure that Malaysia was a modern nation. And that is exactly what he did. He modernized Malaysia in such a short span of time that what the leaders are currently working on was in fact a platform, a foundation that he built. The unfortunate thing is they are discounting it. But the truth of the matter is, it is he who developed it. He was also the sort of leader who during the construction period would visit the construction site and ensure that things were progressing in a timely manner. A good example is the construction of the North-South Highway. Very often he would actually visit the construction site and see that works were in progress. Even the Commonwealth Stadium in Bukit Jalil, during the construction period, there were times where even on a Sunday, he would drive personally to the stadium to see that the development was on track. Tun Mahathir, amongst all the other leaders that we have had and have, was the leader who was personally involved in all the developments that we see today. With the Vision 2020 and his movements, Malaysia was indeed on the path towards achieving 2020. But unfortunately, once he retired, there was a massive slowdown and a change in ideology, which deterred the process of achieving that vision. Number 2. During the 1998 financial crisis, when Malaysia was just about to sign the deal with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Tun Mahathir, who was on leave at that time, came back to stop the process. While it conjured the anger of IMF, the decision was absolutely brilliant. What Mahathir did was he internalized the economy to ensure that Malaysia developed with the local economy being stimulated. There were lots of programs, and one of the notable programs was Inflasi Sifar, where he urged Malaysians to buy locally produced items to rev up or grow the economy without the need of, without much help from the international community. And that indeed brought Malaysia back to its feet in a very short span of time. Should we have taken the IMF funding, Malaysia would have still been paying back the debts, because the sum that was about to be given to Malaysia was just too huge. Number 3, he is problem solving. When there is a problem, he finds a solution, and he doesn't announce a solution until he is confirmed of it. And most often, when the solution is found, it would be the right solution, because he is a person who had intelligent people around him to brainstorm with and give good and viable ideas. Number 4, he also went on a movement towards strengthening the privatization of Malaysia. Most of the companies in Malaysia, the private entities that were started off and currently who fall onto the big cap market, were actually introduced by Tun Mahathir. He had a prominent role in ensuring that they were developed, formed, developed and strengthened. And that strengthening has actually led Malaysia to be an economic power that it is today. Number 5. Tun Mahathir actually took care of the macro economy and micro economy simultaneously without favoring one over the other. While the macro was being developed, he ensured that the pricing of basic commodities maintained so that the micro would be able to feed the macro, to ensure that liquidity in the system was a constant or increasing instead of what we are having today, where it is absolutely sticky and there is a lack of funds in the system. So these are the 5 good elements of Tun Mahathir. What are the 5 bad elements? Well, number 1, Tun Mahathir rewrote the Malaysian history to make it such that the non-Malay participation in the formation of Malaysia was insignificant. The history that was rewritten showed that the Malays were the ones who played a prominent role in Malaysia. Even the achievements of the non-Malays in the 90s or the 80s were not highlighted as much as the Malay success was. And this showed a clear polarization amongst races. Number 2, the program Ketuanan Melayu under the Biro Tata Tertib Negara was further strengthened during his time. Now this program was in the civil service, where the civil servants had to undergo a training where they were made to believe that the Malays, because of the Ketuanan Melayu ideology, deserved the best positions in the civil service and the nation. And this unfortunately led to a great divide amongst the races, especially in the civil service, where the top positions were only given to those of Malay ancestry. Number 3, he was a democratic dictator. Although he enjoyed having intelligent people around him, he did not like people superseding him, and anyone who tried to outdo him was, well, pretty much put under ISA, the Internal Security Act. Did he need a reason? Sometimes he said he didn't. And most of the decisions that were made, although they were brilliant, were only that he favored, which was rather dangerous. Number 4, he introduced the quota system. Now, the introduction of the quota system was to make it such that the division was based on the population of communities in Malaysia. And because of that, the Malay race got the biggest chunk of the cake, while the non-Malays were deprived and sidelined. And as their numbers dwindled, their participation in the civil service and the local education system, especially the tertiary educational system, dwindled as well. That was because, despite them having achieved great results, they were not allowed to participate in the tertiary education, the government tertiary education, if the quota was filled up. Many of them faced the brunt of it, and not many of them could pursue their educational interests. Number 5, the dumbing down of the education system during his tenure as Minister of Education and also Prime Minister made a Malaysian race that was so dependent of only the Malaysian economy. It reduced the marketability of the Malaysian community to the international arena. Before his tenure, the education system was fairly strong, and it created a demand internationally for our localites. Unfortunately, because he wanted to make sure that a certain race was able to achieve more prominent positions because of the increasing in the passing rates or the ability to acquire an education, the knowledge because of the dumbing down was made easy, the quality of education on a whole had diminished. And that is exactly what we are facing today, because that track was continued by the other leaders who had taken office, including our former Prime Minister, Dato Sri Najib Razak. So These are the 5 good and 5 bad elements of Tun Mahathir. However, when we look at Pakatan Rakyat, one thing that I do not favor is that they still are talking about the quota system, and to ensure that the participation of each race or each community falls under the quota system that was created. Not many of them are mooting the idea of abolishing the quota system and creating a Malaysian race where, regardless of race, creed, class or religion, your participation would be determined by your ability or your contribution, your genuine contribution, not financial, your genuine contribution to the nation. We can only hope that this comes into play in the near future. However, Pakatan Harapan, because of it consisting various parties with different ideologies, different strong ideologies, there may in fact be a check and balance should they come into power. And Tun Mahathir, having not much time left, in reality, him being the person who made what we have today, mess included, may be able to undo the mess better than any other leader out there. But the question is, does he want to do it? Perhaps that is something we have to wait and see. So, I leave it to you. You be the better judge when it comes to elections. Happy voting.